It's a long December, and there's reasons to believe that maybe this year will be better than the last. Ah, you thought I was going to sing a Christmas carol, didn't you? Or some other kind of holiday song, but I didn't because I guess you could count the Counting Crows 1990s hit Long December as a holiday hit, but you know. Anyway, hello, welcome to the last the last month of the year. Um we're very excited. It's very pretty here. My beautiful spouse was going to review Sein und Zit and Closure, the season 7 two-parter with me today. Do you want to say hello? To say hello? She's being a shy little shit today. But he lost his voice. Curse you, seasonal colds. So, he will be reviewing Sein und Zit with me next episode. So I thought today we could do a little fun one. One of my favorite, quote, fun episodes, and that is the Season 3 episode Syzygy, and I have trouble pronouncing that word, so I'm going to try to avoid pronouncing it if at all possible. Syzygy was written by Mr. Chris Farter, and oh boy, it's one of his less insufferable episodes. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I remember watching this episode when I was little, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And it's one of those episodes where you grow up and you realize just how messed up it can be. That's the way the X-Files works. It can be a fun romp when you're a kid, and when you grow up. My cat's drinking my whiskey again. Please stop. Oh, cheers. I am drinking a Mr. Pibb Extra with a shot of Bacardi. Because we're gonna drink Bacardi like it's a birthday. So, it's not Fireball whiskey, but it will do. So, Syzygy starts out. These kids are having this vigil, this candlelight vigil, for this guy. And we see baby Ryan Reynolds. Definitely something I had to have pointed out to me when I was in my 30s. I never realized that when I was a kid, because who was Ryan Reynolds, right? When I was little in the 90s. Baby Ryan Reynolds, a.k.a. Boone, is giving this eulogy for his friend Bruno. And he says Bruno's kicking butt in heaven. Which I just love. I want someone to say that at my eulogy. She's kicking butt in heaven. And 2 people will get the reference. But he meets these super sketch girls. Their names are Margie and Terry. And the girl who played Margie played Eric Foreman's sister on that 70s show. And it's kind of funny, in the episode right after Syzygy, Grotesque, the Bill Patterson is played by the same man who plays Eric Foreman's father. So that's definitely something serendipitous. So they're talking to Boone, and they're being super sus. And poor Boone is all I'm gonna say. He has less than 3 minutes in this episode, and I feel more sorry for him than I ever felt for Fox Mulder. So, they, go off on this dirt road, and they're saying, this satanic cult that supposedly, big quotation marks, killed Bruno, their classmate, is out to kill a blonde virgin. And this is the point where I want to get on my soapbox and go on my virginity is a construct rant, which I wholeheartedly believe, but we'll save that for another day. So the 2 girls are whoa, the wind knocked over our folding chairs. So the girls are like, maybe we won't be so scared if we weren't virgins. And at this point, I will insert myself in the episode and scream, "Virginity is a construct, you motherfuckers." So they pull over, apparently to screw you. I don't want to think about teenagers. No, stop. No, that's ick. Okay, I hate it when shows like put teenagers in these situations. Like, it should not be in media. That no. That's a big no for me. So I fast forward through that part, and then we get to the next scene. These cops are like walking up this cliff face, and they see poor Boone hanging from a rock. And at the top of the cliff is Margie and Terry doing the he loves me not, which is a pretty dark touch. Though I do wonder if the cops are going to cut down poor Boone, won't they notice Margie and Terry? Or is this a situation like Arcadia where the townspeople are just dumb as fuck and it works to the villain's, it benefits the villain. So then we get the credits, and we see Mulder and Scully driving in a car. We get some pretty cringe women can't follow driving directions. We all know who wrote this episode. It was Chris Carter, and we all know how Chris Carter writes women very badly. And I just want to point out that Scully would follow directions better than Mulder. Okay, that's just the truth. Anyway, we get some pretty bad jokes about that. And then we see them at the funeral. And this is the part where I'm going to talk about why are FBI agents at a funeral. It was in humbug, and it makes no goddamn sense. So they meet Detective White, or Scully would say, Detective White. I just love the way she says it, and that's how I will be saying it throughout this. So they meet up with Detective White. She's this very tall, blonde woman. More cringe jokes about the blonde virgin sacrifice. You have this extremely cringy joke that Mulder and Scully make, and Mulder's like, "Do you think she's a virgin?" And Scully's like, "I don't even think she's a blonde," which is pretty mean on Scully's part. You cannot drink whiskey. You are a cat. But you know what? It's also super mean on Mulder's part, okay? People kind of look at that and like put the blame all on Scully because she's a woman, and Mulder's being just as mean-spirited. And we'll talk about why. I'm not ready to get into it just yet. So this crazy man comes in, and he starts shouting. Principal Ben, he's the principal of the high school. He starts shouting like a white man who has encountered a privileged white man who has encountered the first obstacle in his life, and he thinks society is falling apart. That's exactly how cisgendered white men act when they encounter any kind of obstacle. They're like, "What? Something that's threatening me?" Like, minorities and marginalized people and women don't put up with that every goddamn day of their life. So, the coffin starts to shake and it catches on fire. And you see Margie and Terry like looking at it nefariously. My cat, I swear to God, is like an alcoholic. She always drinks my boozy drinks when I sit out here. So, wave to the tractor. We're having a tractor parade this weekend. I'm so excited. That's a big like holiday thing around here. Is like all the kids get together with their grandmas and grandpas' tractors and ride around. It's extremely cute. They decorate their tractors in like weird ways. It's very nice. So the coffin catches on fire, and Mulder is just being an asshole. You know what? Let's talk about it. So the gimmick in this episode is that astrological nonsense I'm not even going to attempt to explain. Something Mercury retrograde. There's also some great Uranus jokes in this episode, which I will happily giggle at, like the 12-year-old that I am. And so this astrological phenomenon that's occurring is affecting this small town. I don't know why it's affecting this town and not the whole earth, but whatever. Chris Carter writing. And it's supposed to like change the behavior of the people in the town. Well, hello there.
Hello.
What do you have?
Tree. You
bought a tree?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. My spouse just bought a tree. He's also looking very handsome today, I'd like to point out. So it's supposed to like affect people's behaviors. And what I believe is that it isn't so much affecting their behavior as it is causing what they're suppressing due to politeness or putting up emotional barriers, like to get through the day. It's breaking those barriers down, and what they're feeling and suppressing is coming out. That's what I believe is happening. I don't think it's changing their behavior. So, like, we'll talk about how it affects different characters. But what's so funny, and this is something I saw on Twitter this week that I never realized, is episodes like Syzygy and Grotesque. Like, they want to say, like, look at how this supernatural force affects Mulder's behavior. Look at how erratically it makes him behave, when in reality, Mulder's just the same batshit crazy he's always been and he always will be in all other of the, 270 episodes of the X-Files. So, this is the title of the episode, Mulder's douchebaggery versus the universe. Because the assholery the universe is throwing at this small town, and is throwing specifically at Mulder, meets his own assholery, which he has every day of the year, and it just cancels out. So Mulder doesn't act that different than he would in any other episode of the X-Files. He's still a raging asshole. Like, when they're talking to Detective White, Scully's like giving her theories, which are extremely sound. She's saying, like, how can this be a satanic cult? There's no evidence of it. We haven't found any sites of mass graves or anything. And Mulder keeps interrupting and like making these snide remarks, and I'm like, that's what Mulder does anyway. Like, he's always belittling her theories. Like, he's always trying to undermine her and gaslight her. I'm like, how is this different from how he acts, 364 days of the year? So anyway, and we'll talk about how this Scully's behavior is affected in a minute. So Mulder says to Scully in a very mean way, he's like, maybe we're just imagining it. And again, like every other episode of the X-Files, it's like, is it these girls like affecting these things with their psychic powers? Their psychic birthday powers, because it's their birthday. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, the show, of course, like never gives us a definitive answer of if there are supernatural forces at work, which leads us to the next scene. And they're doing the autopsy of poor Boone. Man, Boone can't get a break in death or life. And they're looking at this mark on his chest. And Mulder's like, that's the shape of a goat. And Detective White says, yeah, it is. But then Scully's like, I don't see it. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it could be, but is it? Like we don't know. It could be in the shape of a goat, or it could look like a monkey or the face of Elvis. I mean, yeah, and it's a great like metaphor for the show. Like, this show's never going to give us substantial evidence to the paranormal. It just is not going to do it. Excuse me. So they're going to interview Margie and Terry, who were the last people to see Boone alive. You also get this great scene of Detective White saying, "Oh no, these are good kids. They would never hurt anyone," which is just the first defense people jump on in these situations. They're like, "Not our children. They're not capable of these things." I've heard that many a time. So they interview Margie and Terry. Their testimonies are exactly the same, and that's what Detective White points out. And Scully's like, "Yeah, but couldn't they have just like fabricated the story before, we interviewed them?" And again, like, Scully's theories are sound. Like, they're logical. That they make as much sense. They make more sense than Mulder's theories do. So then you see Margie and Terry are at this basketball practice. Don't know why the cheerleaders are at the basketball practice, but okay, show, you do you. They're like scoping out this boy. I think his name's Scott. And Scott he's like, "Do not want." It's so funny. Like, the more provocative Margie and Terry become, the less their objects of desire are like interested in them. They're like, "Hey, you're sus. No way." So this one boy like runs into the Gatorade table where there's all these cups of Gatorade and like splashes them, and they just decide they're going to kill him. So this brings up an interesting point in the X-Files. When a person gets supposedly these strong supernatural powers, they always use them to hurt people, and usually not even for a good reason. Like okay, like, this guy splashed them with water, so we're just gonna kill him. And it happens in DPO, and it happens in Pusher. Like, it's a very cynical view of people. Like, I can't think of one instance where a person gets a power and then they go Spider-Man. They're just like, "Okay, I'm going to use this power to help as many people as I can." Like, and that wouldn't be a rare thing. I mean, look at Spider-Man. Like, look at every Marvel, DC comic. These people get powers and they're like, "I'm going to do the best I can," not, "I'm just going to kill people for no reason." So it's a very cynical view. And I don't know if this is because of the time period the X-Files came out or the writers, but then the X-Files had a bajillion writers and no show Bible. It had zero continuity. Couldn't people have like done that at some point? Even Mulder and Scully's son has superpowers, and he's like, "I'm gonna make people fight to the death." Like, just what? So what the fuck's going on here? So they get this kid trapped behind the bleachers, and in a scene that just traumatized me when I was 12 years old, they trap him behind the bleachers and crush him to death. And it is a scene, man. They don't hold back in this scene. It's terrifying. So then Mulder and Scully show up with Detective White, and Scully's like, "Where were you last night?" And Mulder's like, "I went out to see Detective White." And I just want to point out, so, two things. First of all, Mulder and Scully are acting like two lovers. Like, they're acting like two lovers. Like, this is the language and the vocabulary lovers use. And I don't want to say Chris Carter was smart enough to, like, put this language in there to tease us, But it's and again, I think it's David and Jillian's acting, like how it's coming across, but like that's how lovers talk. They're like, well, where were you last night? And then like the scene in the hallway, we'll get to it, where Mulder's sniffing Scully's hair. So the other thing is this. So I believe that this astrological force is breaking down the barriers people put up as they go about society day to day, and like suppressing what they truly feel. And when I was a little baby in high school, I watched this video. I don't know where it came from, but it's these two women talking in this documentary style thing. And one of them is saying like what women go through every day, dealing with the patriarchy and society. They have to put on this brave face and be polite because society forces them into that role. And then when women are menstruating, men are very quick to point out how women act like bitches during that time. And some men are very quick to point out that. When in reality, what's happening is the women are in so much pain and despair at that point that they just forget to put up those barriers that they do every day. So it's not them being the bitch. It's these little bitches they have to deal with every day, and the barriers of their politeness are down at this point. This is what's happening to Scully. That's a beautiful metaphor for what's happening to her. This astrological force has forced her barriers down, and she is showing the full display of her exasperation and frustration with this motherfucker. So Scully has the patience of a saint. She deals with Mulder every day. She puts up with him like trying to undermine her theories, which are absolutely sound, while he's expecting her to meet him halfway on his theories, which she always does. And then this one time when her barriers are down, you're seeing the full face of her like saying, I don't have time for this fucker. So that's what I think is happening to Scully. And this is another episode where people are saying, ooh la la, Scully's jealous of Detective White and Mulder. And she's not. She's unhappy because Mulder is making her uncomfortable. And he's frustrating her. This is why she's acting in this way. So they oh my goodness, it's a Christmas bear. It's so cute. So they go out to this field where this mob has gathered, and Scully's like just explaining away. She's like, we've never found mass graves or anything to substantiate these claims of a satanic cult. And at that moment someone screams, I found bones. And that's pretty clever. I'll give you that, Chris Carter. So they find out these bones are just dog bones, not bones that dogs bury, but like the actual bones of a dog. So Mulder also makes this really weird dig at Scully when she's putting on her gloves to examine the bones, and he's like, I know how much you love snapping on the latex. And I guess that's to imply that she likes to practice safe sex. Like, that is the weirdest insult I've ever heard. Like, Mulder's like, how dare you use safe sex. So that's fucking bizarre. So I gotta switch. Wrist is hurting. So they examine the bones. Scully goes through this like long spiel about how it's a beloved Lhasa Apso named Mr. Tippy. Jillian delivers it in like this quick succession of words, and it always makes me laugh. It's really good. So the mob went to the town pediatrician's house because the bag the dog's bones was buried in was it belonged to him. I don't know why this mob didn't just look at the bones and be like, those are dog bones. But anyway, they go to his house. They're gonna, I don't know what. You get this disgusting transphobic joke where the man is like dressed in eyeliner and a bathrobe, and it's disgusting, and I hate it. So they bring him in, this poor man whose life is being torn apart. And Sally's like, hey, you're free to go. You didn't do anything wrong. So Mulder says, someone's wearing my favorite perfume. So they go out in the hallway. And again, this is like Scully's barriers are going down. Like the patience she uses dealing with Mulder's assholery day to day are down at this point. This is what the universe is doing to Dana Scully. And one of those other things is Mulder's boundaries or lack thereof with Scully. Like, he's always smelling her hair. He's always touching her, which is like completely inappropriate, Mulder. She's your FBI partner, man. And you just see her snap when he like sniffs her hair to see if that was the perfume, and she's like, what are you doing? And this was the point where I really wanted her to punch him in the face. Like, if Dana Scully got one opportunity to punch Fox Mulder in the face, which is something she needs to do every episode, this was the one she needed to do it. She just broke his nose right there. So again, they're using this language of two lovers, like even their body language, like Mulder sighs and like leans up against the wall, and like Jillian marches off. They're just so cute. But then Mulder's like looking at the fandom at this. Chris Carter's looking at the fandom at this point. He's just like, they're platonic with a capital P. SpongeBob SquarePants rainbow meme. So you see Margie and Terry. They're at their birthday party, and they're dancing a lot like I dance. In a very embarrassing way that embarrasses my spouse and daughter. This is exactly how they're dancing to the band Live, which is playing. That's exactly how I dance around my spouse and daughter. Partially because I love to dance like no one's watching, and partially just to exasperate them. So you see Scott was the boy they were checking out at the basketball practice. And you see his girlfriend, Brenda, who also plays Paula in the episode Our Town. This episode has a lot of great cast cameos and cast callbacks, which is great. And poor Brenda. They're doing Bloody Mary in the mirror. They lock her in the bathroom and they kill her, I guess. With their psychic powers, ? Again, this show like never makes it clear what's causing these things. So you see poor Scott. And let's talk about Margie and Terry. So Margie and Terry apparently it's implied that they have psychic powers that they're using. It's never like said for certain that they do. And they kind of remind me of the girls in the Arthur Miller play The Crucible, where these women who have been oppressed in this patriarchal society are like using this newfound power. However, like the girls in The Crucible, they're acting very shitty because they're using this to torture women who are just as oppressed as they are. And that's what I don't get. But then this was written by Chris Carter, and we all know how Chris Carter writes women as being like women exist for the benefit of men. When Margie and Terry turn on each other, this is Chris Carter saying, of course, this is how women would act in this situation because the only thing that they rotate around is a man. And we see that in Fire. a dozen other episodes. Like, this is how Chris Carter views women, that they're jealous and petty, and it's disgusting and fucked up. And I'll say it till the day I die. So we see Scott, Brenda's boyfriend, and he's grieving. He's eating a cheeseburger and a milkshake that just looks delicious and makes me hungry. I want to go to Steak and Shake. Steak and Shake is like my favorite fast food place. So I want to get like a half and half chocolate strawberry milkshake and like a steak burger with fries. So they are like trying to seduce him, and he's like having none of it. And then they chase him to his garage. And Margie and Terry get into this quarrel, and they accidentally stab Scott with something. I think it's the kind of thing where like they back him up on this like spring peg, and it impels him. So pour one out for Scott, man. And this basketball team has taken some hits, isn't it? First Bruno, then Boone, then poor Scott. Scott did nothing, man. He was just grieving his girlfriend. So then Margie dips. She's going to frame Terry for the crime. And then you see the scene most people remember in this episode. Mulder's in his room, and he's getting drunk. Couple things. Doesn't take much to get Mulder drunk. We saw that in Fight the Future. What did he have? Like 2 shots of whiskey? So Mulder's tolerance is about as low as mine. And then Detective White comes in. Someone's killed her cat, which is awful. You did get this cute scene at the beginning of the episode where Mulder's petting Detective White's cat, and I think that's pretty cute. It would have been cute if Mulder and Scully got a cat when they moved in together. So Mulder is sniffing Detective White. It's very gross. And then, again, this is just the assholery of the universe has met Mulder's assholery head on, and they've canceled each other out. And Detective White becomes a sex offender. She straddles Mulder. It is a very cute scene where, like, you see Mulder's demisexual side come out, and he's like, maybe we could watch some TV. Maybe we could do anything but make out. He's just begging this woman. And it's also incredibly... Detective White's behavior is incredibly disgusting, and she's, like, absolutely forcing this on him, and it's not funny. It's sick. Mulder's behavior of, like, turning the channels on the TV, and it's the same movie. It's Keystone Cops every time he changes it. That's pretty cute. So Scully is in her room, and she's smoking a cigarette. And I know cigarettes are bad for you, but that's hot. And she is just going off on Mulder. She's like, I am sick of this motherfucker. So she bursts into their room. I don't know why. And she sees them in this position. And even with the universe, like, barreling its forces down on Dana Scully, she still keeps it together. That's my girl. They go out to the car, and Mulder makes this really mean joke about how short Scully is, and God, like, fuck Mulder. So her and Detective White have this very awkward car ride, and then birds start dying and falling on their window shield. And then the mob is back. I mean, are all these people like traveling in a van? I mean, what's happening? And then Margie shows up, and she's crying, and she's saying, "Oh, Terry killed Paul." Scully sees right through that bullshit. She's like, "Why didn't you stop her?" You know? And then Terry finds Mulder, and Mulder, like, falls for her story, hook, line, and sinker, because that's just how stupid Mulder is. They take them to the police station. All of the guns start going off at once. I listened to this podcast, and it pointed something out I'd never noticed, is when that starts happening, Scully immediately takes the round out of her pistol, so it's not hot. And Mulder just is waving his gun around. So it could have, like, killed anyone at that point. With the universe psychic thing. Before we go any further, we have to talk about Madame Zarinka, who's the best character in this episode and probably any episode of The X-Files. This is the Madame Zarinka appreciation vlog. She's played by the woman who plays the receptionist in Irresistible. This actress is so good. She's this little short, brown-headed woman. She is this kind of like fortune teller. She like deals in horoscopes and like astrological fortunes. But she's a very like hard-headed businesswoman too. She will not give Mulder any information until he pays her, which I love. And Mulder definitely like throws his weight around with his FBI badge, like trying to force his way into people's homes and businesses and force himself onto people. And Madame Zarinka like sees right through his bullshit. She's like, nope, you gonna pay me if you want me to explain some stuff to you. You're on my turf now, buddy. She reminds me of Sheriff Tuscany in Shape. She's like, take that bullshit out of here, G-Man. You gonna pay me if I'm gonna talk to you. Also, Madame Zarinka is not affected by the astrological forces like apparently everyone else in town is, but I don't think it's because she deals in astrological forces. I think it's because she can see through bullshit so well, which is great. Like, that's the best antidote to anything. Like, it happens in Pusher, like, Modell's powers don't affect Skinner or Scully, and I think it's just because they can see through bullshit. So that's Madame Zarinka. She's like, this man's slinging shit and I'm not falling for it. So I love that. Love Madame Zarinka. So they get to the police station. Margie and Terry are having a stare off. All the guns are going off. And Mulder throws them in a closet together, which seems like a horrible idea, but and it doesn't even work. Like, it just, the day ends. Like, their birthday's over. So apparently the power stops. Or do they? Like, how are we going to know if it does stop? Or if it ever happened? Because this could have been something else entirely. Or, you know, they killed Scott by accident. Like, what the fuck's going on here, Chris Carter? Like, tell us one way or the other. Is it astrological forces, or are these just coincidences? But of course, the show never tells us this because it is fueled by bad writing. Particularly this man's bad writing. So then you get one of Mulder's long, boring monologues, and the show ends. And that's Syzygy. This was a short and a sweet one. I hope you have a great holiday season, whatever holiday you're celebrating. Or if you're not celebrating any holidays at all, get out there. If enjoy the wintry season, enjoy the winter solstice. And don't you bite my hand. Stop it. Why are you being mean? My cat's a little shit. Have a great day.